Greetings from Yates Chapel here on the campus of Millsaps College in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm Joey Shelton, and I am Dean of the Chapel, and it is my great pleasure to be with you today as we offer reflections from 1 Kings. Hear the words of the prophet Elijah. Elijah, God's prophet, predicted a drought. In the midst of the drought, Elijah was sustained by food from the beaks of unclean birds, and later sustained by the meager yet unending resources of a suffering widow. He brought the breath of life back into the widow's son. He confronted King Ahab and defeated 850 pagan prophets, 400 of Baal and 400 of Asherah. And after all of these mighty acts, out of fear, Elijah fled in response to Queen Jezebel's threatening voice. In wilderness solitude, he then laid down and he asked the Lord that he might die. "It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my ancestors." And then he lay down under the broom tree and fell asleep. An angel awakened him and fed him. Elijah ate and drank and lay down a second time. The angel awakened him again. "Get up and eat, otherwise the journey will be too much for you." He got up and ate and drank, and then he went on the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. At that place he came to a cave and spent the night there. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" asked the Lord. He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." The Lord instructed Elijah, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a wind so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard, he went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." Then the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king over Aram, and also you shall anoint Jehu as king over Israel, and you shall anoint Elisha as prophet in your place. And yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." The word of God, or the people of God. Thanks be to God. A couple of weeks ago, I was mentally and emotionally worn out, suffering from pandemic blues. I needed some spiritual, mental, and physical movement, so I went for a walk around campus. I ended up at the softball field. Coaches Deloach and Savala were watching several of their athletes go through pre-practice drills. And as I considered the plight of the softball team, no fall season, uncertainty about the spring season, a couple of teammates who didn't return to school, my blues continued. Projecting my blue mood upon the coaches and team, I figured they all needed some pastoral care, so I walked over to chat. Several softball players joined the ensuing conversation, and what I heard was metaphorically the voice of angels of the Lord awakening me and then feeding me the food of unfettered joy. The students and coaches were amazing. I was inspired and moved by their commitment. And then they practiced. Talk about movement. It was a marvelous sight. In the midst of what looked to me as chaos with balls flying everywhere, each player knew her next step. They were fully engaged and brought energy to the effort. My experience that day sent me into a contemplative place. I needed reorientation and perspective, a type of sound of sheer silence space. I needed holy insight into holy presence and holy movement, not just movement as preparation for the real game, but an embracing of the chaotic moment as the game, the movement as the destination, a reminder of God's active presence now, not some utopian end of the journey after all uncertainties and the conference championship presence. The coaches and students bore witness to me of God with us in the midst of it all right now presence. A presence beautifully professed in the 1791 deathbed statement of an Anglican priest and leader of the Methodist movement, John Wesley. As an unknown future of the Methodist movement lingered in the air, Wesley made a faith-filled remark for the ages. The best of all, God is with us. And here we are, nearly 230 years later, an institutional offspring of a movement with the echo still resonating. The best of all is, God is with us. The movement I am advocating is based upon the premise that God is present and God's presence is active, inviting humanity to participate in what God is already doing in our individual and corporate lives, always beckoning each of us to seek out God's unique calling for our lives. God's calling is a creative, moving spirit of action, personal and social action. A hallmark of the Methodist movement is belief that God's presence is manifested by grace, which is God's good will for us. And God's grace never ceases to move. God's prevenient, justifying, sanctifying grace finds us, feeds us, employs us, imparted to us. We, like Elijah in the wilderness cave, surrounded by wind, earthquake, and fire, worn out by physical, mental, and spiritual drought, are recalled, re-energized, and recommissioned by God's grace through God's love. Love that seeks the welfare of all. Love that seeks the opportunity to do good. Love that is incarnational and imputed. Jesus on the move love. Teaching, healing, redeeming, and defeating the uncertainty of death. Incarnational grace and love pronounced. Emmanuel, God with us. Grace and love are verbs meant for each of us and for all of us, for creation and for institutions that serve God's precious creation. Being in the will of God is to lean into and share grace through love. And just as grace finds us, feeds us, and employs us in God's work of love as a verb, We are commissioned, employed to participate in this work, to serve everyone created in God's image and entrusted to us for the strengthening of their hearts and minds, for the exploration and embodiment of faith and reason, all in service to the common good. I am convinced that right now, the best of all is God is with us. We are a movement-related people, a continuing legacy of God's active presence. We are not strangers to uncertainties, and uncertainties accompany any movement. Lest you think that engaging the uncertainties is not worth it, go with me to softball practice. Global Christianity is at the end of and in the beginning of a 500-year paradigm shift. We are approaching the end of a half-century paradigm shift in higher education, and we face the climactic conclusion of a 50-year paradigm shift in the United Methodist Church. The threatening voices of the pandemic, polemical politics, protest, and shifting paradigms dominate our discourse. We are experiencing an Elijah-like wind, earthquake, and fire moment within a wilderness marathon. We yearn for the sound of sheer silence. We can be neither complacent nor frantic in the midst of drought, the hurricane strength shifting winds of social constructs and raging fires. God is right now finding us, feeding us, and employing us to participate in what God is doing in our midst. Please, go to softball practice. It will lead you to renewed purpose. God's movement is not for the faint of heart. It is cruciform. It is for those who seek to build upon the legacy of Christ's work, invest in the lives of our neighbors, embrace the opportunity of the locations in which we find ourselves, and learn from our experiences and the movement of the Holy Spirit. Our movement is confident that God's Spirit was with us, is with us, and will be with us. Please hear this. God's incarnational grace, working in active love, is inviting us to be fully engaged, to bring energy to our efforts, to wholly notice and participate, to move with all of our heart, mind, and strength, to be like Elijah, called, energized, and commissioned on the hills of drought and despair into expanded purpose, embracing this moment, appreciating movement as the destination, confident that even now God's grace finds us, feeds us, and employs us in God's work of love as a verb. So in the midst of whatever blues that confront you, open yourself to God's movement. Take a walk, wholly notice. Go to softball practice. And the best of all is, God is with us. Amen.